The effects of President Trump's tariffs are about to be felt by consumers across the country as companies begin to raise prices. Starting today, American shoppers will be paying import duties of up to 145% on products from China.
Yeah, that means prices are going up on clothing, toys, household goods, and there could be shortages and empty shelves. But President Trump says it's all worth it to change the economy long term. John Fenoglio live in the News Center with the impact on consumers and the American economy. John.
Mike has shared tonight, President Trump is touting a strong jobs report and a market surge. All good news. But trade experts warn that if concessions aren't made soon, the impacts of Mr. Trump's tariffs will soon be felt as trade grinds to a halt. President Trump arriving at his Florida golf club for the weekend on the heels of some positive economic news. The U.S. adding 177,000 jobs in April, higher than expected. The unemployment rate steady at 4.2%. The strong jobs report prompting a surge on Wall Street. The Dow up 564 points. The Nasdaq and S&P 500 both rebounding, following a volatile month after Trump announced sweeping tariffs on all goods coming into the U.S. But economists warn.
We're still bracing for impacts of tariffs on the economy.
Bankrate senior analyst Mark Hamrick says those impacts are coming, and U.S. consumers could see fewer items and much higher prices in just a matter of weeks, especially on Chinese imports, now subject to the president's 145% tariff as shipments grind to a halt. Recent polling shows most Americans do not agree with the president's tariffs and are increasingly concerned they will lead to a recession.
Consumer sentiment is quite miserable right now. People are worried about their job security and concerned about the prospect of higher prices.
Trump maintains his hefty taxes on foreign imports will bring back American manufacturing in the long run. In an exclusive interview with NBC's Meet the Press, President Trump downplaying fears of a recession.
Are you comfortable with the country potentially dipping into a recession for a period of time if you are able to achieve your long-term goals?
Well, you say some people on Wall Street say, well, I like to tell you something else. Some people on Wall Street say that we're going to have the greatest economy in history. Why don't you talk about them? Because some people on Wall Street say this is the greatest thing.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at, though. It's the same question.
Yeah, there are many people on Wall Street say this is going to be the greatest windfall ever happened.
And that's my question.
Remember
the
this.
Long term.
Yeah.
Is it okay in the short term to have a recession?
This. Look, everything's okay. What we are, I said, this is a transition period. I think we're going to do fantastically.
I'd like to be Pope. That would be my number one choice.
This morning, cardinals are descending on Vatican City from across the globe, pushing past the world's media, who have also descended to their first meeting. Of the 135 cardinals under the age of 80 eligible to vote in the conclave, the vast majority, 108, were appointed by Francis, including more than 20 from places that had never had a cardinal before.
This is going to be a very open process, it seems to me, in which two things are most important. One, does this man communicate a vibrant, energizing faith? And secondly, can he govern?
As the Catholic Church grows in Asia, Cardinal Luis Tagle from the Philippines is a frontrunner to be the first Asian pope. Referred to as the Pope Francis of Asia, with a heavy focus on social justice and caring for the poor. But at 67 years old, he's on the young side. Or will the church stage an Italian comeback of sorts after 3 successive outsiders in recent decades? Italian Cardinal Pietro Parolin is 70. He's an experienced Vatican official with serious name recognition. He served as Francis's Secretary of State, but he lacks pastoral experience. Another Italian, Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa, is also on the short list. At 60, he's lived for the last 3 decades in the Middle East, currently serving as the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem.
An Italian comeback?
I think right now, Molly, nationality means nothing in this. It would be very foolish to think of them as a united bloc.
Or will the cardinals determine the church requires a conservative voice rolling back Francis's progressive agenda? Cardinal Peter Erdo, at 72, is a leading conservative from Hungary, supported among the European cardinals, and is close to Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. But it will all come down to the voting. The conclave gets underway 15 to 20 days after Francis's death. The cardinals sealed off inside the Sistine Chapel until a new pope is chosen.
Now, another interesting thing about the cardinal electors this year, it's an incredibly diverse bunch. They don't all know each other. So a lot of the next 2 weeks will be about getting to know each other and then figuring out who is best to lead. Guys?
Is it okay in the short term to have a recession?
This. Look, yeah, everything's okay. What we are, I said, this is a transition period. I said, this is a transition period.
Are you ready for what's coming? All the events happening today, things are so volatile, and it screams out that change is on the horizon, and we can see that the world is gearing up for a major shift. There are so many moving parts that are going on that it can be somewhat overwhelming to deal with. I mean, we have a man in the office of the presidency of the United States who is mocking everyone, and he's playing games with the whole world. I mean, those who allow themselves to be provoked by him. There is so much going on in this world, and I honestly don't know what it is that everyone else sees when they're examining this world. I imagine that people live in ignorance along with pride that tells them that when the real problems come, they will be ready for it, so they don't need to really think about this too much. And they believe that when the time comes, they will know how to navigate through the change. But I really don't believe people really understand how heavy things are that are upon us. I think people are making strong miscalculations. I mean, just look at what's going on. I mean, again, we have a president of the United States killing the currency of the United States right in front of his country's face, after he told his country and the rest of the world that he wants to make the United States a worldwide hub for cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence.
This, David, is?
Yeah, this is the crypto EO. We're going to be forming an internal working group to make to make America the world capital in crypto under your leadership.
Which is really going up, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, on the day of his inauguration, he came out with his own cryptocurrency. For me personally, I find what he's doing to be massively entertaining, only because I know where he's leading everyone. I personally believe that if you choose to be a part of this system and choose to let this man provoke you, what is coming is surely upon you. And it is your choice that you're a part of it. But analyzing what he's doing, it makes things look so crazy and obvious. But there are also many other different agendas away from the currency, like as the propaganda ramps up with Trump against Russia as they get ready to put more sanctions on the country, as if sanctions really matters when they're destroying the currency and the SWIFT payment system. Along with this, we have the conclave set to start on Wednesday, May 7th. And with the amount of propaganda we have had with the movies they have come out with, I mean, with the latest movie showing that the next pope will be a representation of the Baphomet, whatever is coming is definitely going to be interesting. And then, after this pope dies, we have the social media algorithms pushing the narrative about the Mahdi and having some man that I'm not even truly convinced that he's actually a real person, but whatever. We have this man coming on the scene declaring that he is the Mahdi, and now everyone wants to discuss it and talk about it. We have movements in Africa now with leaders making moves that people want to believe is about independence, but in truth, they're just movements being orchestrated that leads the whole world toward this coming Great Reset. I mean, we had a blackout in the Iberian Peninsula that they blamed on pollen. No joke, I heard them blame the blackout on too much pollen in the air. Anyways, there's so much happening right now, and this week seems to be the beginning of it all. I'm excited because I know that this is all bringing us closer to our promises. And while I am happy that there are many of you who watch these videos that are also ready for what is coming, I know that there are many that are not ready. Many that keep straddling the fence, not truly living in the truth and being led and swayed by the direction of the media and your social media algorithm. I want to briefly take this time to shake some of you up and hope that you wake up and snap out of it. So I want to talk about what's going on in the world right now and truly ask you to consider, are you really ready for what's coming? If not, you need to get ready. We'll talk about it though. Let's begin. Okay, so let's first talk about Trump. I've made a video about the deception surrounding Trump, and I truly believe that it went over many people's heads. But as all these agendas keep forming and we watch how this whole narrative takes shape with him, it will be very interesting to see how it all plays out. How I would describe everything in dealing with Trump is to say it in one way. This man and this system are playing massive games with you. And I truly wonder why so many people, it's hard for them to see this. Well, I know the answer why many can't see it is that they're in judgment, and that's another subject in itself. But for many of you that are not in the strong delusion, but just trying to make your mind up on what you're going to believe, I believe Trump should be the very evidence of the fact that this game is all up. Trump is judgment. And for those who live in the truth, we should be watching Trump as like a sort of wrecking ball, bringing judgment to people who, as prophesied, in the measure that she glorified herself and lived luxuriously, in the same measure give her torment and sorrow. For she says in her heart, I sit as queen and am no widow and will not see sorrow. Revelation chapter 18, verse 7. But sadly, sorrow is coming from Mystery Babylon. These people sit and believe that this man is about bringing change and making this country stronger when he has explained that his agenda is about transforming this country, and he is literally doing whatever sticks in order to get attention and provoke controversy. Because at some point, when this whole thing implodes, there must be internal fighting that happens as well. More on that later. But what I will say is very simple. This man is playing with everyone. And if you allow him to play with you in your mind, that's going to be your mistake. Dealing with what seems to be the biggest problem, which is the tariffs, please understand that if you follow the mainstream news and listen to all the rhetoric and propaganda, you are completely missing the bigger picture. The tariffs had to happen because of the economic insolvency of the United States. A few years back, I made a video about the Great Reset, which Klaus Schwab wrote during the pandemic. It speaks about many different parts to the Great Reset. They're planning for an economic reset, a societal reset, a geopolitical reset, an environmental reset, a technological reset, and an individual reset. This is exactly why they're calling it a Great Reset. All the areas of our lives are being reset. And so, with all that said, I would like to bring attention back to what was written about the economic reset. In regards to the economic reset, listen to what it says about the United States dollar. 1.2.3.2, the fate of the US dollar, page 72. For decades, the US has enjoyed the exorbitant privilege of retaining the global currency reserve, a status that has long been a perk of imperial might and economic elixir. To a considerable extent, American power and prosperity have been built and reinforced by the global trust in the dollar and the willingness of customers abroad to hold it, most often in the form of US government bonds. For quite some time, some analysts and policymakers have been considering a possible and progressive end to the dominance of the dollar. They now think that the pandemic might be the catalyst that proves them right. On the one hand, managing the economy sensibly, doubters of US dollar dominance point to the inevitable and sharp deterioration of the US fiscal position. In their mind, unsustainable levels of debt will eventually erode confidence in the US dollar. Just prior to the pandemic, US defense spending, plus interest on the federal debt, plus annual entitlement payments, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, represented 112% of federal tax receipts, versus 95% in 2017. This unsustainable path will worsen in the post-pandemic, post-bailout era. This argument suggests that something major will therefore have to change, either through a much reduced geopolitical role or higher taxation, or both. Otherwise, the rising deficit will reach a threshold beyond which non-US investors are unwilling to fund it. After all, the status of reserve currency cannot last longer than foreign confidence in the ability of the holder to honor its payments. As for a global virtual currency, there is none in sight yet, but there are attempts to launch national digital currencies that may eventually dethrone the US dollar supremacy. Ultimately, the possible end of the US dollar's primacy will depend on what happens in the US. As Henry Paulson, a former US Treasury Secretary, says, US dollar prominence begins at home. The United States must maintain an economy that inspires global credibility and confidence. Failure to do so will, over time, put the US dollar's position in peril. Okay, so if you read that, you know that there's a part of the economic reset that's about the coming takedown of the US dollar. But as he wrote, before this happens, before major change occurs, the US would need to make a major move to try to prevent this. As he said, this argument suggests that something major will therefore have to change, either through a much reduced geopolitical role or higher taxation, or both. Otherwise, the rising deficit will reach a threshold beyond which non-US investors are unwilling to fund it. You see, that's what the tariffs are all about. That's what Doge was all about. It's all about the narrative that leads to the takedown of the US dollar. They're portraying that they're doing something before it all goes down. But you should note that they give you a roadmap. They told you what would happen. In the book, when Schwab writes of the geopolitical reset, they do speak on tariffs. In section 1.4 of Geopolitical Reset, he writes in the following pages, "We review four main issues that will become more prevalent in the post-pandemic era and that conflate with each other: the erosion of globalization, the absence of global governance, the increasing rivalry between US and China, and the fate of fragile and failing states." And you see, this is exactly what we're dealing with right now. These people actually write down their blueprints and their plans. It's our fault, and we are to blame because we allow them to distract us with the playoffs and what's happening with Diddy, which, by the way, as things really begin to heat up in this world, be prepared for the whole Diddy situation to come back out and be used as a major distraction, as this probably was the whole reason for Diddy being arrested in the first place. When that Diddy trial comes out, please ignore everything that they're talking about. It does not matter. Expect them to come hard with the distractions at some point and bring out and expose the wickedness of the industry just to keep people distracted. They're going to come with distractions. Make sure that you do not allow them to take hold of your mind and distract you with things that do not matter. Anyways, in regards to the geopolitical reset, they even talk about the next part of where this whole agenda leads, as they refer to a global government. They say, global governance is commonly defined as the process of cooperation among transnational actors aimed at providing responses to global problems. The two notions of global governance and international cooperation are so intertwined that it is nigh on impossible for global governance to flourish in a divided world that is retrenching and fragmenting. Sadly, we are now at this critical juncture. Put bluntly, we live in a world in which nobody is really in charge. Therefore, the concern is that without appropriate global governance, we will become paralyzed in our attempts to address and respond to global challenges, particularly when there is such a strong dissonance between short-term domestic imperatives and long-term global challenges. This is a major worry, considering that today there is no committee to save the world. So they're preparing for a world government that has someone in charge, someone with a committee to save the world. This is literally Bible prophecy of the book of Revelation jumping into reality. Let's keep going though. In section 1.4.1, the section on globalization and nationalism, he writes this: COVID-19 will just accelerate this global divergence as North America, Europe, and Asia focus increasingly on regional self-sufficiency rather than on the distant and intricate global supply chains that formerly epitomize the essence of globalization. What form might this take? It could resemble the sequence of events that brought an earlier period of globalization to an end, but with a regional twist. Anti-globalization was strong in the run-up to 1914 and up to 1918, then less so during the 1920s, but it reignited in the 1930s as a result of the Great Depression, triggering an increase in tariff and non-tariff barriers that destroyed many businesses and inflicted much pain on the largest economies of that time. The same could happen again with a strong impulse to reshore that spreads beyond healthcare and agriculture to include large categories of non-strategic products. Both the far right and the far left will take advantage of the crisis to promote a protectionist agenda with higher barriers to the free flow of capital goods and people. Several surveys conducted in the first few months of 2020 revealed that international companies fear a return and aggravation of protectionism in the United States, not only on trade, but also in cross-border mergers and acquisitions and government procurement. What happens in the US will inevitably ricochet elsewhere, with other advanced economies imposing more barriers to trade and investment. Defying the appeals from experts and international organizations to refrain from protectionism, this sombre scenario is not inevitable, but over the next few years, we should expect the tensions between the forces of nationalism and openness to play out across three critical dimensions. 1, global institutions. 2, trade. 3, capital flows. And you see, this is exactly what is going on right now. They said the word protectionism a lot, so let me define that for you. Protectionism is the theory or practice of shielding a country's domestic industries from foreign competition by taxing imports. This is exactly what Trump is doing. I'm just reading out of a book that was written 4 or 5 years ago that's just given a blueprint. You see, this is exactly what is going on. So for me to speak about the propaganda surrounding the tariffs, that's pointless because these people know what they're doing. This is all an agenda, and to fulfill their satanic code, they have written and informed us all of it. So they feel the blood is not on their hands as they carry it all out because they told us what they're doing and we still just willfully participate with them. They are purposely crashing the system, and this man, Klaus Schwab, who has been navigating this whole NWO agenda for the past 50 years since Bretton Woods, has now just stepped down, as I believe this means that everything is in place, and therefore as these agendas follow through, we no longer can look to him as the one orchestrating it, because he stepped down just last month. I think it was April 20th. Either way, what Donald Trump is doing is all about the Great Reset. It's about the economical, the geopolitical, the technological, and societal reset. If you choose to be led and steered by the day-to-day of all this stuff happening, and you listen to the media, you choose on your own to be led by your enemy, and the enemy will lead you directly to him. The agenda is in your face. So for me, I choose not to participate. And what does that mean exactly? That means not participate mentally. Here is my summation of it all. I don't care. The system is being reset. It's a big system, and the reset is all about leading the whole world in a particular direction through organized chaos. Order out of chaos. They only have one shot at it, and they are following their roadmap. None of that has anything to do with me. That is judgment for the world, not for Yasharel. So imagine me caring about it. Absolutely not. Anyways, there's too much to say about Trump, and I don't desire to explain it all. It's right in your face, though. My point is that if you're attached to their narratives, and you're attached to all these moving parts, and you say Trump did this, and he did that, and you have made him your enemy, rather than understanding it's everyone, not just him, everyone. Every last person that's for him or against him, that talks about him in the media, that deals with him in the government, everyone, regardless of political party, regardless of anything, if they're discussing how to keep this system going, they're on the same side, regardless of the external display of conflict. There is an agenda, and it's being carried out right in front of us. I just gave you a brief exposure to it. I suggest you go back and read what they have written. I've attached a PDF to the Great Reset if you want to read it on your own. It does not tell everything, but it does provide a great perspective if you're trying to understand what it is that you're seeing today. Let's keep going. Okay, so the next part of this agenda is about what they're doing with the Pope. Aside from the governmental side of this Great Reset, we cannot forget that they are moving the world towards worship and merging all religions to declare that everyone worships the same God. There's basically a religious reset, or reset's probably the wrong word. There seems to be a great deal of propaganda and or expectations that surrounds this coming conclave with the selection of the new Pope. I've seen a lot of people talking about this coming Pope being the final Pope that brings Judgment Day or something like that. There's a lot of known conspiracy surrounding it.
So did you know Pope Francis is the last Pope, and after that it will be the Judgment Day?
So it literally ends after Pope Francis?
Yeah. And this book in the Vatican archives, right, predicted every single pope from 1143 all the way to our current pope. But the scary thing is after Pope Francis, the last one, it just says Judgment Day. And the creepiest thing inside St. Paul's Basilica ordering the whole inner sanctuary is a picture of every single pope, right? But what's weird is that there's only a certain amount of markers where you can put the picture. There's just one left after Pope Francis. They've always said once that last slot is filled, it will be the end of the world. He predicted the time it took to go from the first pope that he wrote about to the halfway mark was 422 years. He's saying from the middle one to the end, another 422 years will be the end of the world. If you do 422 in the middle pope, which was 1585, that year is 2027. It's even weirder. Pope John the 23rd, he said that the end of the world would happen 2,000 years plus Christ's life. So that adds up to 2027 as well. Terrifying, isn't it?
It all does seem to be orchestrated by numbers, but I'm not the one suited to talk about that. My brother Larry breaks it down best. Either way, Pope Francis, he seemed to be dying for at least a month until they were ready for it to happen. And they let him do one appearance, and then the next day after Easter, he dies. To anyone paying just a little bit of attention, it's obviously very much coordinated, and these people are lying out of their teeth, moving within their boundaries around their numbers and gematria. Let me be clear that I do not care about it. I will not be following the day by day. I do believe what will be happening is important and it's all about end times Bible prophecy, but I do not care about the day to day and their propaganda that surrounds it. What I do believe personally is that they're going to be running the same script that they keep running. Let me explain. You see, Pope Francis was a liberal, and he was moving the papacy in the direction that was provoking many Catholics. Many Catholics did not like the direction Pope Francis was taking it. He was another one that was also moving under that social gospel doctrine that I spoke about recently. Anyways, he was a liberal, and it said that not everyone was personally on board with where he was taking everything. Okay, whatever. To me, again, it's all like a movie. It's not real. As I personally am analyzing the narrative, what I'm currently expecting is a more conservative pope to arise, very similar to how Trump got reelected. If you remember, the US was overly provoked by the liberal agenda of Biden and the Democrats, and they overwhelmingly selected Trump with their hearts. I am expecting the same narrative and agenda. And the crazy thing is that they have been alluding to a black pope for a while now. But when I first heard about this agenda, I assumed they were speaking about spiritual darkness with their satanic references with white and black magic. But now I see it also refers to race. The black pope meaning an African pope. And they alluded to it in the movie Conclave, that there was an African pope that was being selected.
Dovrebbe essere un italiano.
E perché no? Sono 40 anni che non abbiamo papa italiano. 40 anni, Tommaso. Tu riesci a immaginare veramente un'alternativa?
Listen, I don't know what they're doing. I don't really try to speculate like I'm some prophet that knows what will happen tomorrow. What I do know is that whatever happens, this pope will be used in a great way to merge all the religions and set the stage for the beast. I would not be surprised if he publicly speaks against Trump at some point. As I have said, it seems that Trump will be used as a false antichrist. But again, this is my speculation. It's not me declaring myself to be a prophet and saying, the Lord told me it was going to be like this, like I've seen other prophets and prophetess say. Anyways, the point I want to make about the Pope is what I saw to be very interesting from that movie Conclave, which was released right before the election last year in 2024. The movie won an Oscar. The timing of this movie seems to be no coincidence. And the thing is that there was so much in that movie, I just really can't understand how people really believe our Father has anything to do with that institution. But whatever, that's what Christianity is. That's what Christianity is. That's the foundation, regardless if the Protestants want to distance themselves from it because they don't recognize the history of how they even became Protestants. Christianity stems from the foundation of the Roman Catholic Church. The Protestant Church, with all those different denominations, Baptist, Pentecostal, Lutheran, Seventh-day Adventist, all of that is just a branch that stems from the Roman Catholic Church that was created not by the apostles, but by the early church fathers. Hence, why we call them the early church fathers. They are the beginning. I will be revisiting that topic soon, Yah willing. That's another topic from what I'm getting at here. Let me get back to the point. I was discussing the movie. In that movie Conclave, it was going in a direction that seemed to be just a portrayal of what was actually happening in the conclave. And while I was watching it, I could only see one reason for the movie being made, but to provide the mind control and comfort needed for the masses to accept whatever transpired. They made a movie to condition the masses to accept whatever comes from this conclave. I'm very interested to watch and see what comes from it. The death of the Pope brought millions of people to rewatch that movie. And what I don't really hear is people really mention the major plot twist that happened at the end of the movie, which was, from what I could see, the main reason and the point of the movie. Not just to make us feel comfortable with the conclave, but to let us know what's coming. So you see, what happened in this movie is an unknown cardinal that nobody knew anything about came out of nowhere. And in one scene, he made a speech, and the cardinals then elected him Pope. That's a quick summary. This man, no one knew anything about him. Okay, whatever, that was normal. But it was the twist that makes the difference. You see, the twist that came after was that this man that no one knew about, he had a condition that no one knew about. Only the Pope knew about his condition. And apparently right before the Pope died, he was about to get it fixed, but he backed out of it and came to the conclave. And it's the condition that's absolutely crazy. This man who was elected Pope was intersexual or whatever. He was both male and female. He was raised as a male, but later learned he had both external male genitalia and internal female organs. This is literally the craziest twist to a religious movie I've ever seen, but it definitely spoke to me about what they're trying to say. Let me ask you, do you know what the Knights Templar were accused of worshiping, saying that they were devil worshippers? Yeah, they worship the Baphomet. This is the symbol of the devil, and I will not display it here long. The symbol of the Baphomet is a symbol of Lucifer. The Baphomet is both male and female. It is both. And them choosing to make the Pope in this movie a symbol of the Baphomet screams out to me that these people have an agenda on the horizon with this new Pope. I mean, they could have done anything else with their plot twist at the end, but to make this next Pope intersexual only means the next Pope will be a representation of Lucifer. So I truly believe that this next Pope that comes will be the false prophet that prepares the way for the true beast to rise. Again, that's my personal speculation. Either way, we are right now watching the agenda and narrative for how the world will be driven to the mark of the beast. And if you're able to reduce yourself and separate yourself from these agendas and understand if you're truly part of our Father's coming kingdom, that none of this has anything to do with you. And if you understand that, then these things should be easy to see and understand. And that leads me to my last point. So, okay, after the Pope died, all of a sudden, the algorithms on Instagram began to promote this man saying all this nonsense.
I am Abdullah, the successor of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, the successor of the Comforter Ahmed, the successor of Simon Peter, the successor of Muhammad, the successor of Jesus Christ. I am the true and legitimate Pope. I am the proof upon the Christians. I am the son of the Muslims through my father, and the son of the Christians and the Jews through my mother. I am the son of the East through my father, and the son of the West through my mother. I am like Zulkarnain, who with one horn in the East and one in the West, and I am the inheritor of all that lies between. I am more knowledgeable than any false pope, and I am appointed by name in the will of the prophets. My name is also on the tongue of Isaiah, who prophesied of the righteous servant, and he said, he will see his offspring and prolong his days, and the will of the Lord will prosper in his hand. According to you, Jesus ﷺ had no offspring, and his days were cut short. But I am that servant. I am Abdullah, the righteous servant of God. I am also the righteous servant mentioned by Jesus ﷺ when he said, who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord when he cometh shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all of his goods. And I was made ruler over all his goods. Now, O Christians in the East and the West, hear me and obey. I am a messenger sent to you from Jesus Christ, alayhi salam. Paul is false and led you astray. The church is corrupt and no longer upholds the law of God, nor does it defend the oppressed. The papacy has been stolen and the rightful heir has been pushed aside. There is no one else but me that you are obliged to obey. May God be a witness that I have proclaimed.
Now, me personally, without any research on this man, I truly assume that this was all artificial intelligence. I'm interested to know if anyone has seen this man personally with their own eyes outside of what we're seeing on our screens. But I don't know. It just seems a little fake to me. Anyways, after a little more investigation, I see that he's had this social media account for a few years, popping up after COVID. Maybe he's real, or maybe it's artificial intelligence playing massive games with us. This is what I know. First off, this man is not any of those things that he declares, obviously. But the fact that he exists and the social media algorithms all of a sudden start promoting him and allowing him to go viral, it should not be lost on anyone. This is what I know from seeing this guy. He is bringing attention to a subject that I just recently spoke about when speaking about Donald Trump. In that video, I spoke about Donald Trump possibly being the false Messiah that precedes the true Antichrist that the world will worship. And I explained this by explaining that Islam is waiting for their Mahdi. I explained that this part of the agenda is something that Christians don't truly understand because in Islam, the Mahdi is the one who defeats the Antichrist. Anyways, I explained this in depth. I won't rehash it here. The point I'm making is that this man coming out right now is just bringing attention to the masses about this coming figure of the Mahdi and letting the world that someone like this will be arising soon. This man is not that figure. He's just bringing attention to what the coming Antichrist will be when people are ready to worship him. Please know and understand, the man that fills this role will be declared these titles by the world. He will not be the one telling everyone that he is these things. The world will declare it. The media will declare it. Deception comes with a false sense of humility. And believe me, this man, he's already in front of us and he is waiting for the conditions to be set for him to begin to take power. And it is not this man who, again, I'm not even positive that he really exists. But whether he does exist or does not exist, there is a major point that I want to bring out with all this. When this man started coming through to your algorithms, I was receiving many comments and questions about this man and asking about my thoughts on him. I want you to know that I appreciate your questions and your desire to know what I'm thinking on things. I am always humbled by these requests. But what I have to say, I ask that you don't take this the wrong way if you ask me this question, because I don't mean to offend, but only to try to get you to see things in a different way. Listen to me sincerely. Everything that you're about to see in this world is going to be built off of a lie. Your social media algorithms right now are all about distracting and steering you into a desired hole that they have dug for you, and it leads to the mark of the beast. So, as these people, if they bring these lies to your screen and you keep feeling the need to know what this means and what that means, please understand you are not ready for what's coming. At this point, I pray that those who follow this channel are able to have enough discernment that you don't need to hear me speak about every false agenda and every liar. I hope that you're able to discern that what you are seeing is a distraction and has nothing to do with you. I mean, here it is. Let's say he is the Mahdi. How does it concern you if you're being prepared to be gathered? If he really is the Mahdi of the Antichrist, whatever this man is doing, regardless, it has nothing to do with you if you know what you are supposed to be preparing for. You see, if you're attached to these agendas and you feel you must be in the loop with all these lies and all these conspiracies and all these traps that they're setting for you, you are not ready. If you know what we're waiting for, then the day by day, the play by plays, they have nothing to do with you. And most of you are actually more interested in these satanic conspiracies than you're actually willing to deal with. I mean, here it is. You're more interested in the satanic conspiracies than what the word of Yah says and what our Father has declared in his word. You'll search out all the satanic conspiracies more than you'll take time to read our Father's word. And that is a mistake, and it will be on you. For many of you, all these satanic conspiracies, it excites you. It draws you in. You need to evaluate that. My point is that if you're not able to recognize that many of these things are just lies and the distractions, you are not going to be ready for the main event. And I only say that not to attack you personally, but to give you a wake-up call that you need to get stronger mentally. Stop searching social media to see what everyone has to say about this or that. Stop looking for gossip or looking for what content creators have to say about all these things. These Christian content creators are going to be leading a majority of people to hell. If you keep searching out and eating from all these different tables, it's a strong possibility that you'll be led down into the same trap everyone else is being led into. And listen, let's be clear. I am not at all saying that I am to be the source of everyone's understanding. Please do not take that from what I'm saying. I am saying that if you need me or anyone else to speak about every agenda that the devil is coming at you with, you will not be ready for the main event, because the main event will not be met with an embrace of truth. At some point, the truth is going to be completely suppressed. And if you do not have enough discernment to know when someone like this guy right here, that he's a distraction at this point in time, when they really step it up, if you're not able to discern whether you need to go right or go left or just stand still, unless you hear it from a content creator, you are being set up to be taken down in the biggest spiritual event in the history of the world. This world is being prepared to worship the devil in unison. People all around the world are a part of the same agenda, moving towards the same goal. This world is being prepared to go through organized chaos, And if you keep following the day-by-day, play-by-plays, and following the players and those who the algorithms are presenting to you in mass, you are allowing yourself to be led where the enemy wants to take you. My point is that you need to understand how to play this game better and understand the war that's being waged against you is mental. If you do not know how to guard your mental state and not let them attack you mentally and then lead you in their captive state as their mental slave, you are not going to be ready for what's coming. In regards to the main event, I do not know what's coming, but I do know that there is one big event that they are all preparing for, and they're going to use distractions and lies to move you off with it. And just like when COVID happened and they restricted us and gave us strikes when we try to deter people away, the same will happen. And if you're not mentally able to see that certain things are just a distraction, it's a lie, that it's a straight agenda that's against you, then you leave yourself vulnerable to what's coming. And I just needed to say that to some of you, and I hope that you understood and didn't take offense. Listen, we are in the end games, people. Stop following this all play by play. Stop worrying about all the different actors that will be popping up. Most of them are just tools being used to move the world towards global governance. Like what's happening with the president of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, who is now looked up as a change leader, rising up right in the heart of what was once the Hebrew kingdom of Gao, the Songhai Empire, and what the slavers labeled as Negro land. What's going on with him is not about revolution. This is about the East taking on the West in Africa. Ibrahim Traoré is not moving in power on his own, but is backed by the East with China. There's a lot to say about it, but I don't want to go deep in speaking about every narrative and agenda. What I'm trying to say is that as these new players rise up, whether it is in government, business, military, or religious, please stay out of it. None of it, and I repeat, none of it has anything to do with you if you're truly waiting for our Father's kingdom. The only thing that we should be waiting for is for peace to be taken from this earth as the second seal is removed. We should be waiting for the two witnesses, and we should be waiting for our Father to make his move to gather us. And when he does this, we will know because it will be led by his power. Not by this man here, not by that man over there. Do not follow the distractions. Stay connected to our Father in his word and keep his promises at the forefront of your mind. Do not be distracted and carried to and fro by all these agendas. These things will increase, and it's all about steering your mind and attaching you to the agendas that lead to the beast. If you allow this to occur, you will only have yourself to blame. Listen, if you're serious about our Father's kingdom, stay in his word and live in prayer. If you need a distraction, get a hobby, do puzzles, read books, exercise, spend time with your family, but stop giving your mind over to the algorithm. This is the time about us enduring to the end, and the biggest part to all this is living with a sound mind. All of us must be waiting on Yahuwah, and so this is what you must focus on doing. You see, Yahuwah is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. It is good that one should hope and wait quietly for the salvation of Yahuwah. Lamentations chapter 3, verses 25 through 26. I mean, why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel, my way is hidden from Yahuwah, and my just claim is passed over by my Elohim? Have you not known? Have you not heard? The everlasting El, Yahuwah, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might, he increases strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait on Yahuwah shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Isaiah chapter 40, verses 27 through 31. This is what you must know and be about. Be one who knows our Father Yahuwah and waits on him. We are waiting for the time when our Messiah comes back and deals with our enemies. But we have many more things that must happen before that time. And it's important that you are mentally ready to deal with it so that you're not taken captive by the enemy. Please, as we go throughout these last days, please remember Romans chapter 12, verse 2. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Elohim. You see, if you're wondering about this person or that person, this movement or that movement, this leader or that leader, you are not being led enough by our Father, because he is who sustains us and he is who keeps us. If you're conformed to this world, you will be led into judgment along with it. But if you renew your mind and set it on the promises our Father has made, and you live aligned to Messiah Yahusha, his son whom he sent, if you're attached truly to this, what is happening in this world you will recognize has nothing to do with you. I went through all that to show that this is all engineered. It's not real. It's only real if you're attached to it. This is judgment for the rest of the world. And if you choose to be a part of it, that's your choice. But listen, for me, in my house, we will wait on Yahuwah. Please, I ask sincerely, will you wait and trust in him with me as well? I hope that you do. And we'll all see each other at the gathering. Be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yah. Okay, thanks again for watching. This has blessed you. Please don't forget to like this and share it with others. If you have not done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Yah willing, I upload every Friday. Also, please don't forget to follow this ministry on Facebook and Instagram, as well as on my website, truthunedited.com. As always, I really would like to thank all those who support this ministry. You know who you are. Your contributions have been an extreme blessing to this ministry, and I'm very thankful for you. Thank you. Thank you for being a blessing and your continued support to this mission. Be blessed. Okay, thanks again for watching, everyone. I love you all.